Hi there, we are Lisa and Chris. Please join us aboard our main ship 390, Cool Beans, as we cruise America's Great Loop. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where did we leave and where are we headed?
We left Half Moon Bay and we're headed to Connolly, New York.
That's right, and it's 6 a.m. We left at 6 a.m. It's 7 now. Why did we do that?
To take advantage of the currents in the river.
Yes, these ding dang dong currents. We gotta figure this out, and I think we have. So we're in the Hudson River Valley, I guess, and boy is it beautiful, isn't it?
Very nice.
We're about to come up here and pass West Point. It's gorgeous. All right.
Shouldn't be much further.
Nope. All right. See you up the way. We set out of the marina, and immediately we were in awe of this beautiful part of the country. None of the loop books prepared us for this, and maybe that's just our personal preference. We were just blown away at the beauty of the river, the hills, and the trees. And how cute is this train going through the hills? Bridges, bridges, bridges. These are all so neat, but I won't detail them all for you. Here is my version of a 360-degree view. I took the camera and put it on a stick and just spun it around so you can see what we see. Chris wanted to show our depth, so at this point we are 145 feet deep, and look how close we are to the shore. So here we are back at West Point, but this time in our boat. It looks so impressive from here, and now we know what those buildings all are and the neat stories behind them. Again, we enjoyed the tour immensely and highly recommend you put it on your list if you're looping. Bannerman Castle sits on Bannerman Island. It has a long history. It was built in 1917, but not as a home, but for a Scotsman's immense collection of weapons and arsenal. It was sold in 1967 to the state of New York, which had great plans for the castle, but a year later a fire broke out and destroyed the building. The state has since renovated the first floor as the visitor center and runs tours on the weekends from May to October. This cracked me up. Most of these train cars are Amazon. This riverboat cruises the Hudson from Kingston, giving passengers a chance to see the beautiful river by boat. This one was headed right by the beautiful lighthouse. Look how close we got to it. And almost to the marina, another really cool lighthouse. Travel day 60. We went 49 nautical miles from Croton on Hudson, New York to Connally, New York. After one night in Connally, we head back out the Hudson to our next destination. We went by some really neat towns and even neater lighthouses. I didn't know there were so many on the Hudson. Before we knew it, we were in Albany, the capital of the state of New York. Albany has a beautiful historic downtown, gorgeous buildings, and even this ship, the USS Slater, a destroyer escort turned historical museum. Originally, our destination was Troy, but we didn't like the feel of the marinas there, so we decided to go a little further up the river to Waterford. Plans change, and we have to be flexible. This brought us through our first lock since the Dismal Swamp, the Troy Federal Lock. This is the first lock on the northwestern route of the Erie Canal that eventually takes you across New York State to Lake Ontario. And as you can tell by the name, this lock isn't owned by the state, it's owned and operated by the Army Corps of Engineers. Chris took this video to show you his view of sitting on the flybridge and going up 17 feet. We made it to Waterford Visitor Center where they offer a free dock to transient boaters. We walked into town for dinner and had a surprisingly good meal here at I Love Roses. We love the name too. Travel day 61. We went 55 nautical miles from Connally, New York to Waterford, New York. The next morning we left Waterford to conquer our first lock day. We are now entering our lock phase, where we will go through many locks a day to get to Lake Ontario. The Erie Canal has locks because the terrain of New York State changes 565 feet from the Hudson River in Albany to Lake Erie in Buffalo. Locks, also known as boat elevators, raise and lower vessels to navigate the canal's different elevations. We went through 6 locks today. They were all fairly easy. We were all alone in the locks, which is always good. And the only issue we had was in lock 4. The doors didn't close behind us all the way, so we sat there while the lockmaster was looking into it. Eventually they closed, and then we were on our way. here is a view of our last lock for the day. It's a neat view of the dam next to it, too. The Erie Canal is beautiful, very similar to the Hudson, with the hills and the trees and the wildlife. Look at this baby deer peeking through the grass at us, and all the gorgeous homes that dot the landscape. We made it to Schenectady and settled into the marina. Travel day 62. We went 16 nautical miles from Waterford, New York to Schenectady, New York. We decided to stay in Schenectady for the rest of the week as there were small rainstorms and wind predicted throughout the weekend. We worked on small boat projects like organizing our spare room, inventorying food and spare parts, and cleaning up the salon. And I have gotten some downtime to paint my rocks. I do this at home to relax and be creative, so I brought all of my supplies to do it on the boat. I have enjoyed it immensely. I will hide these at stops along the way for people to find. We've also had a few meals out. This breakfast was amazing, bananas Foster French toast. And we were here during the running of the Belmont Stakes, so we did our research and went over to the casino and placed a few bets. We also saw a mama killdeer and her 3 babies. They are so funny. What's your tip of the week?
Last week we talked about squeaking dock lines, and I showed you just add some soap right to the part of the line where it's rubbing against the boat and squeaking. This week I'm going to show you another way. We've got a couple of little dock lines in our bucket. We're going to cover them with water. We're going to add just a little bit of soap. And a heavy dose of your favorite fabric softener. We'll fill this up. We'll let them set for, I don't know, a couple hours. Pull them out and let them dry. It should have gotten all the salt out of them and also softened them up. Shouldn't squeak for you anymore.
All right, great tip. In this week's interesting boat information, we're going to lighten it up and talk about bananas. We are not overly superstitious people. I have a few that I believe in, but Chris, as a rule, is too black and white to be superstitious. But the one thing that he refuses to do is bring bananas onto the boat. This is actually a very common superstition tied to boating. It began in the 1700s when trade ships sailing from the Caribbean and Spain started to disappear. Legend has it that only the curved yellow fruits would be found floating amongst the wreckage. Seafarers believed the bananas had caused the ships to sink. Fishermen also believe bananas are bad luck, as well as blame them for not catching fish, mechanical issues, or even bad weather. One reason could be that bananas are naturally sweet and sticky, and they also release ethylene gas, which some believe acts as a natural fish repellent. Present-day looper Chris refuses to allow bananas on board Cool Beans. To prove this point, this morning at breakfast I had bananas Foster French toast, and when I boxed up my leftovers to bring back to Cool Beans, he asked me to eat that one banana slice off the top before getting back on. So let us know in the comments, are you superstitious about bananas on board a boat?
Welcome back aboard Cool Beans. This week we left Croton on Hudson for, where do we go?
Connolly, Kingston.
Went to Connolly, Kingston, spent a night there, left Connolly, Kingston, and we wound up in Waterford. We had a different destination, but wound up in Waterford. Spent the night on the wall there.
Ate some good Mexican.
Had a really good meal there in town, walked a few blocks.
Yep.
And we left Waterford, and now we're in Schenectady, New York. Went through 5 or 6 locks to get here. It was only 17 miles from where we started, but it took us half a day or a little bit longer. You know, it just takes time for them to, you know, fill the locks, let you in and out. And while we were here in Schenectady, we were gonna try to make it up to Saratoga for the Belmont Stakes, but it just didn't work out for us. But we enjoyed it watching it here.
We did.
And we'll be leaving here to our final destination is Lake Oneida, and that'll be our journey for next week.
That's right.
What else you got?
Just, I was going to ask everyone if there's anything that you would like to know. We're going to kind of do a recap of our first 50% of the loop, and we're going to kind of do like the best of. If there's any like categories that you want to know or any opinions of ours that you want to know, just let us know in the comments, and we're going to put that together in the next week or so, and we'll have content while we're gone. So yeah, just let us know in the comments.
Perfect.
All right.
Keep the comments coming. They're really enjoyable to read. And like Lisa said, if there's anything you would like to know more about, any must-dos or things that we did that were kind of mediocre, or you know, it's not necessary on the trip, just anything like that, just let us know.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.
See y'all next week aboard Cool Beans.